business owner. As I mentioned yesterday, when I had a chance to work with or speak to Nicole Gates from the Rainbow Trail, I mentioned one of the reasons why I wanted to start doing this series, if you will, is I have a chance to work with some amazing women. Many of them are friends. And we've been having sort of these behind the scene conversations from everything from what are we going to do to what are you doing with your hair? So I thought instead of having those private conversations, because I was learning a lot and getting some good guidance from some amazing women who've been in this space for a very long time, I thought I'd create a series where everyone can get some guidance as well. And so one of the young women who has been a mentor to me, a friend, and that person we've discussed our hair, has joined me today. Her name is Yvette Nicole Harris. She's a publicist guru, and I couldn't imagine doing this with anyone else. So if you will please welcome Yvette, if you can say hello to everyone, and thank you for joining us.
Listen, I'm just grateful for the young. You said young. I'm young. Everyone, happy.
I didn't have the chai tea. I had to say something.
Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right? Today's Wednesday.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
I put a little lipstick on for everybody in case you didn't notice. When's the last time I had lipstick on? But the only thing I need is my chai tea. Who's doing it? Where's my assistant?
For those of you who know Yvette very well, Starbucks is her favorite place. If you ever want to get on a good side, get her a chai tea. And when this first went down, one of the first phone calls we got was she called me and asked me, now, what are you going to do with your hair? So as you can see, I'm working on it. We look at the beauty industry. That's a whole separate conversation, but we're working on it.
I'm going through all of my products in my bathroom. So anybody who's ever been to my house knows that my bathroom looks like a Target aisle for hair products.
So go to Yvette's house if you need to buy some products.
Exactly.
So thank you for joining us. If you could really quickly tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Yvette Harris, as Stephanie mentioned, and my company is Harris Public Relations. I'm a native New Yorker. I've been in Miami for about 14 years, I think. And our company specializes in nonprofits, small business, special events, and really a slant towards making sure that those stories that don't necessarily get covered by mainstream have an opportunity to get covered. So we're really excited to tell those stories that people either tend to forget or they don't know about, or, that just kind of get lost in the process of media.
Well, you mentioned you're a New Yorker. Let's start there. I'm imagining right now that's a hotspot area.
Yeah. A lot of friends there, family, of course, still there. Learned that someone that some of us know in the community here, her father just passed away from COVID-19 in New York. So it's definitely touched, our community of friends and family. And, we definitely keep them in our thoughts and prayers.
Amen.
And positive vibrations to them during this really, really challenging time. But, if I lived in New York, I was still in New York when 9/11 happened. And although it's not the same, the resilience of New Yorkers, we bounce back, community sets in, and, we do what we have to do to stay safe and help, our fellow neighbors and, just really persevere and come out even stronger. So,
Well, what are some people doing there in the small business space? I've been seeing scenes on television where they have completely shut people's businesses down. What are some of the conversations there about some of those businesses being able to come back after all of this?
So the interesting thing is, I think that New York and other places, even Miami, on somewhat of a maybe a small scale, Oakland and other places, really were already starting to create online platforms and communities. This just really kind of fast tracked it a little bit. But for all of my friends that either own their own businesses, they've really had to dig very deep into their creative space within themselves to kind of figure out how they were either going to rebrand, do things differently. All of us, everybody in the world has to now do things differently, not just whether you're in PR, whether you're in, media, whether it's everybody, life has changed, and as with when 9/11 happened, life changed forever as we knew it, so we had to do it. So, although this is a very challenging and just tragic moment, it's an opportunity, for me, as I see it, for any challenging moment. How do I do better? How do I become a better person? How do I become more, what can I do to really make a difference? And how do I change things within my own company and myself? So it's an opportunity for all of us to take advantage of this time to really reflect and figure out how we can do better, because we all need to.
And what are some of those thoughts that have come up for you in terms of your pivot plan? Because I'm, in this industry, I know that's been a conversation I think you and I have had and others have had. This will look different on the other side in creative industries in particular. What are some of the pivot plan ideas you've had? Have you put them into effect?
Yeah, so I've been, discussing with quite a few clients. I think the most challenging part that people have is being open and receptive to change. And once you kind of knock down that barrier or open the door, you'd be amazed to see how many ideas kind of flow within that space. So for me, it's been a matter of, with some clients, just kind of getting them to be open and receptive to change, because we're creatures of habit.
Right.
So interesting enough, quite a few of them, there's some still on the fence, some of them are just like, oh, I don't know. For the most part, they are saying, okay. And sometimes, a lot of times people don't want to change. It's not because they don't want to change. It's because they don't really know how. Like, what do we, they don't really understand the process. So just letting them know that it's okay to say, you know what, I have no idea about this whole digital space or this internet and technology and, that kind of thing. Can you show me, or can we learn together, or, that kind of thing. So I think being open and receptive, it starts here first, it starts here and in your heart, and then everything else kind of just works together on that platform.
So you're optimistic about the industry moving forward after all of this is over. I know I've talked to some people in our industry who, we've all acknowledged we got to do some stuff a little differently. That's maybe one of the reasons why I started this series.
Which I think is fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's fabulous. I think because, it's an opportunity for us to share, because we're all going through the same thing. And, sometimes you sit home and go, oh, I'm the only one feeling this way.
Right.
Or,
Exactly.
We're all traveling through this journey together in separate homes. We're all on the same A train, as we would say in New York,
24 hours. Because we talk all the time about how we're working in our own silo and trying to figure it out. And especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're always trying to figure out how you stay alive. A small business, you're always trying to figure out how you stay alive. So I was like, this is just a perfect opportunity for us to share. We're sort of in this vulnerable state anyway. So how do we help one another? And there may be a morsel of information that you give that somebody know.
Information is key. And I think the amount of information that people have been sharing have been phenomenal, because my thing is, I always share information and people will say, oh, you send a lot of information, you post. It's like, okay, well, you could either use it, but you
got it.
Or delete it.
Exactly. And I will say,
when you tell me I send too much, I'm going to delete sending it to you.
You won't get it anymore, and then you'll be mad. Look, Yvette is a wealth of information. Since this has started, I've received a lot of information about grants for small businesses, my women-owned businesses, minority businesses, women of color businesses from Yvette. So I mean, and actually one of them I applied for, and I'm holding, like there's one more I'm looking at for sure. So have you applied for any of those grants and loans?
Say that again?
Have you applied for
I
any of the grants?
haven't applied yet. I've got all of the applications kind of opened up.
Okay.
I have started the process. I'm going to actually complete 2 of them today and tomorrow.
And how are you
And
finding
there's
that
a
to
couple
be
other ones that I'm
successful?
probably going to share today. The great thing about it is that so many companies have really stepped up to the plate
Yeah.
to be able to provide resources, especially for minority-owned businesses, women. Shea Moisture has a grant, Spanx, which
Yes, I saw that. I was like,
so
thanks.
that was phenomenal. That companies that we support and purchase their products have now decided to also turn around and give back, which I think is phenomenal.
I agree. I agree.
And there are definitely, if you can't apply for all or be eligible for all, there's probably definitely one that will speak to you and speak to your business that you would probably be able to get.
And
So
where you need to be, exactly.
But and then if you can't do it, share it with somebody. That's all.
Exactly. I look, when you send it, I send it. It's like, hey, because what we talked about yesterday, and this is a very important key, Nicole talked about it as well, is as I mentioned, one of the ones you sent me, I did apply for. They've been relatively easy in terms of the application process itself. It's online. It's generally 20 minutes max, I think.
Right.
Where the challenge comes is the paperwork, being prepared and having your taxes done. And
you and I speak about this all the time,
right?
Because I sit on the grant review panel for the Miami-Dade County Cultural Affairs, and my biggest gripe is kind of twofold. One, there's not enough people of color that apply for various reasons. One, because sometimes they don't have the information, which, before this kind of happened, I had a panel put together that I'm still going to, do. I'm probably going to think about doing it maybe live instead. That just speaks to some of these organizations that have grants available, what the process is, because a lot of times people, don't apply because grants can be overwhelming. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of paperwork, and just the fear of it, or you've already got it in your mind that I'm not going to apply because I'm not going to get it. There's no possible way. But you have to get out of that comfort zone and say, let me just try. Because what's the worst they can tell you is no. Well, what's the best thing that they can tell you?
And you got some money.
And what you could now do to, push the needle for your narrative. So I think once we get past the fear and asking for help, ask somebody that's applied for a grant before and say, hey, listen, can I just talk to you about the process? Like, what do I need to be, it's one thing to have all of the list of things that you need. It's another thing to talk to somebody that's actually applied for it.
Right.
Just to give you a little bit of peace of mind,
And how you might be able to go about getting those documents in place. Because if you don't have the documents in place, you're already sort of out of
and then it's an opportunity to make a change in that. Get your documents in place.
Right. Absolutely.
If you see that they're asking for your last 2 years of your taxes, or they're asking for letters of references, or they're asking for pictures, get them.
Your permits and licenses, get them.
All of that, so that when you do go to apply, you're like, yep, check, I got it. And you're in a better position. And then you can be qualified to apply for it. So
absolutely.
It's all, for me, everything is a teachable moment. My daughter she's like, Mommy, is everything? I'm like, yeah, everything is a teachable moment, because it really is. And it's times that like this that really, show you that, oh my goodness, like I should have been doing XYZ. Okay, I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. Now I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to start to do these things because I know that they're going to be beneficial to me in the long run.
And like, to your point, this is a good time for a pivot. Like, this is where it's a good time to really sort of get into that space that if you are going to be an entrepreneur, then you need to do what needs to be done to be an entrepreneur.
Every morning when I get up and walk.
Exactly.
This is my pivot.
I was going to ask you. I was like, I tell people all the time, I think being an entrepreneur has got to be in your DNA, or a mental problem, one or the other. What makes you wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to keep doing this?
This is my pivot.
Exactly. I was like, so what kind of emotional things have you gone through during this time to go, why am I doing this? Should I go get a job? Like, have there been some feelings, and what was the outcome of those thoughts?
Yeah, well, the good thing about it is, I've been working for myself for 23 years now.
Oh, wait.
So for me, the great thing about it is, the funny thing is when I first moved here, I had 2 office spaces and then realized nobody was coming to visit me. Nobody ever wanted to office. So my clients were always like, why don't you come to my office? Why don't we meet here? So my office space just went unused. So I was like, okay, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. Why do I have this office space when I don't really need it? And I'm just giving these people money that I could be using for something else. So I've been working from home for a while, but I don't really work from home a lot. Like a lot of times I'm just out, I'll go to Starbucks and work. I'll go to a hotel and work. I'll go to my client's office and work. So I'm usually out. So I still have that camaraderie with people and that interaction. So this to me is kind of new in a sense because I'm just like, okay,
what am I doing?
It's like, oh my gosh, I'm on my balcony going, hello,
Will somebody talk to me?
For me, so it's, I'm not going to say that I don't have a level of a little bit of fear, but I really have been maintaining a very sense of calmness throughout this because I believe that, we're going to come out and we're going to be victorious in this. The most challenging thing for me, I think, has been just to see my daughter go through the process of everything, just not being able to go to school and not really being able to, to see her friends. And that has been probably the most challenging. She's in the 5th grade. So there were a whole, plethora of activities that were planned and, all of that will now come to some sort of different type of vibe. So she, had a few meltdowns. So that's been just really the hardest thing, just to, when I don't have those answers for her, like, are we definitely going back to school April 30th? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Be extended.
I can't tell you that.
I don't, do I tell her that? Do I just, so it's just kind of navigating that process and, ensuring that we both of us stay rooted in gratitude because we are navigating this in a so much more a different way than other people that don't have as much, so gratitude for us has been the staple, which always, but even so more now in our house.
Great.
So it's the biggest thing for me has been, I said I was going to grow out my hair, and then I changed my mind. So I need a buzz. I need a cut.
Do you have the guts? Can you try it? And
my hair chronicles are just, insane over the last 25, 30 years. So yeah, I could do it. I'm just throw it out.
As I told you yesterday, my hair is not my problem. It's my eyebrows. As you can see, if you see half an eyebrow one day, y'all just work with me.
Very creative. I wear flip-flops all the time. So I'm used to getting my toes done like every other week because flip-flops are not necessarily the best for the bottom of your feet. Okay. So I have become very creative and pulled out my Puma stones. I even looked at something on Amazon. I was like, should I order that? And I was like, I don't think it's gonna work. I looked at the reviews.
I got something here. I'm sure.
I got my good old, scrub and just maintaining the back of my feet, and so
still got to do those things to make you feel like a human.
Well, getting to make you shower every day and getting dressed has been key for both of us. Because I think that when you don't do that, and that's not to say that you can't, because some people can operate. Like I had a really good friend of mine when I lived in DC. I would go to her house. She and I started our business around the same time. And for me, I would have to get dressed, go to my desk, put everything, have on semi decent clothes to just be in that mindset. I go to her house. She's in her robe. She got tea, coffee in her hand. And she's just and I'm just like, how are you working? But she can do that. I cannot.
I have to get up every day and at least present.
That's right.
Yeah, I can do it at home, but I gotta at least have on some decent clothes. I don't wear makeup though, so I want you to know.
Right.
Don't wear it.
I have to pretend I'm going somewhere. But it starts. It just definitely gives you the foundation for how your day is going to go. Because it's easy to kind of slip in and just, so I've really been keeping my same routine just at home, and let me tell you, I went to some meetings. Now they've all become, Zoom meetings, but I'm just like, when I counted up the amount of meetings that I was on yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, and somebody will text me or call me and I'm like, No, it's even more.
I was gonna yeah, because I mean, Yvette and I talk often, and generally, like before all of this, it was between meetings. Like
Right.
she's going somewhere and she'd call me, or text each other. What's up? I'll call you later. I got stuff to do. So I want to know, what is your day like now? Is it the same as just on an online platform?
I go out and I walk for about an hour. Come back, shower, get my smoothie. Check in and make sure Naya's got everything that she needs for her online. And then I just, go through my emails. I normally have some sort of weekly call or Zoom call around 10. And then sometimes it could be back to back. Like some days, yesterday and I think it was last Thursday, I just had them back to back to back. I literally wasn't finished until like 7:30. It was just, like, this is insane.
What to talk
I'm very grateful for working. I'm grateful. But it was just like, oh my gosh.
Can we spread these out a little bit? I need to breathe.
Even the people, even some of my clients that weren't necessarily online, because I would always be like, well, can we just do a call? They'd be like, no, let's, we want to meet. And I was just be like, okay. And now, they're kind of like, hey, why didn't you tell me about this meeting?
This is not bad.
I've been saying it for like 5 years.
Are the meetings shorter now? Because I think they are shorter.
No one has anywhere to go. No, they're not shorter. That's the problem.
Because I'm like, I think mine are shorter. I'm just
listen, I have been on minimum an hour and a half. That's the shortest.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I've been on an hour and a half.
At least that's the shortest, so.
Okay.
But it's fine. It's fine. It makes the day, because sometimes I really don't know what day it is. I have to ask Naya. I'm like, what? Because last week I thought she had something due the next day because I thought it was Friday. And I said, Naya, have you finished your project? She was like, well, it's not due till Friday. And I said, yes, that's tomorrow. She was like, no, that's in 2 days.
Oops. Sorry. Glad to know you're on top of the job. Harassing that baby.
Right.
So what's next for you in this small business space? And also, are there any thoughts around any advice you would give to anyone in any industry of how to sort of keep the faith, keep your plans moving? I know many of us have said we didn't have an emergency plan before this, but now we're really thinking
my clients didn't have an emergency plan.
Exactly. And you hear it in workshops, but no one's ever really, because you just don't expect anything like this, truth be told. I mean, you think
it's like car insurance. You have to have it in the event you get into an accident.
Exactly.
It's the same concept. You can't just not have it. And I've been asked to help people create, because, my background is actually crisis communications when I worked for the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So, I've been asked to help people kind of craft their crisis plan during the crisis. That's not the way to go. You should be implemented
out prior to. Yeah.
So, I encourage people to have whatever your contingency plan is, and it doesn't have to be long and detailed, and, it can just be like, listen, I need to make sure that I have a certain amount of dollars in the bank to cover me in the event. You kind of think about it in terms of if your business is slow during certain periods of the year. Like some people in the summer, their business is slow, right? So whatever you do to kind of compensate that and make sure that those months, that are slow, you have enough money and resources to do the things that you need to do to pump back money into the business and all that kind of stuff. You kind of need to incorporate that into a larger plan in terms of your crisis communications plan and your backup plan and and that kind of thing. I would just encourage
some of the advice, because many of us are working kind of check to check. Right. So, this is becoming, it's sort of shining a light on that.
Yeah, for some it is, and that's an opportunity to change that. To save some of the money so that you at least start with 1 month, saying, okay, I got all of my expenses in the bank for 1 month. Start where you can, and then just build upon that.
Yeah.
I belong to a few PR consortiums, like Facebook group pages, and it has been amazing. Our really big one that I belong to, we've been doing Zoom calls, and it's 20,000 members of PR and media people that are on the Facebook one, but it's about 100, 200 people that have been chiming in on these Zoom calls, and it's great. It's it's a good place for us to kind of have a little bit of a rant. We try not to make it a rant kind of thing, but just a place to really be honest and authentic about some of the changes. Some of the people have lost their business, they've lost all of their clients.
Yeah,
but it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, yeah, we might be able to do some stuff together, or have you thought about doing X, Y, and Z? And this might work. So finding that network of people that do similar, are in a similar space as you, and even different spaces, because you can always pull ideas off of other people that are in other spaces.
Absolutely.
But having that network of people to be able to bounce ideas off, like I call you when I have a crazy idea. I have a lot of people that I can call and be like, okay. And I always say, I'm on the Brooklyn Bridge, so go with me, because that means I'm about to have a crazy idea. So
don't jump.
Don't jump. Like, no, I'm usually not jumping. I just need you to walk across it because it's crazy, But having that network of people, and then do your research, find out what are people in your industry doing, like what are the conversations out there, because sometimes it's not even about reinventing the wheel. Sometimes people are already doing certain things that you can now tailor to your own business and say, hey, that's actually a great idea. Let me see how I can apply that for my business.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I will say the 3 women that I have on this week have been that sounding board for me, for sure. And it's so funny. All of you will have a marketing background. You might be doing something else, but have a marketing background. But whenever I need, just to listen to someone, it's always been either Nicole, you, or Jennifer. So now you know why I have them on first. Also, because they were willing to go down the rabbit hole with me. So thank you.
I'm like, oh, and I'm
going down the rabbit hole. We appreciate you. And
so just having, do your due diligence, find out what people are doing in your industry and become a part of those conversations. LinkedIn has some really good groups.
Absolutely.
The Twitter space, your own research, calling people and saying, hey, how are you navigating this process? And I have a couple ideas. What do you think about this? Because they will tell you. Make sure you call people that are not going to just say yes just because they know you. They're going to be like,
right.
Not really quite sure. They
definitely want to lean on to people that might have something to add to the plate and not just, support.
Exactly. Yeah, and just remaining positive and just knowing that this too will pass, and let me grow with this process. What can I do to make myself better, to give back more, to be a better listener, friend, just all of those things that we never have time to work on. I cleaned out my hallway linen closet. Is just one of those closets that you just like, let me get that. Whenever I have company, I'm like, they're like, where are you? I'm like, get that for you. Let me get that for you, right? Because if you
it's later, it's a good time to do it. Do it now.
And I was so sick of it. I was just like, I got to do something about this linen closet, So having a little bit of time, I actually just took everything out, refolded everything, repositioned it, organized it, and I'm just like, oh. And now I have
feel better. Don't you feel better?
Yes, but nobody to come visit. Nobody to come over and say, hey, where are your towels? I could go there right there.
Nope, it's just for you and I. I'll come when we can come back over. I'll come in.
Just having that opportunity, taking that downtime, spending. I got on TikTok yesterday. Oh my gosh, with Naya. So now I'm determined, because the video was actually the blooper videos are much funnier. I'm gonna have to post those today than the other one. So I told Naya, I'm like, I'm determined. I'm downloading my own TikTok.
Oh Lord, here we go.
I'm out of control.
Somebody asked me about that the other day. It's like, how do you work TikTok? I was like, I don't know.
It was so much fun. It's just a bonding moment. Literally everybody and their grandparents are on it. So I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna do it also. So just finding fun things that make you laugh. Things that you don't necessarily. My good friend Shirley She sent us a text last night and she was like, hug a tree, just like I went walking the other day and I didn't even notice one of the blocks. Like there was this huge tree. It was so
Yes.
beautiful. Sometimes we just walk just to walk, but to really be present in the moment and just, I've been calling all my friends and, no longer just text, but just really calling and listening and hearing their voices has, the whole thing with the house party, everybody gets in and talks and everything, so just really reconnecting and talking as opposed to just going through life so quickly, I think has been an amazing opportunity for us to really reconnect with people, and I'm enjoying
that's been one of those things that I think I have enjoyed as well. Just sort of settling down a little bit. This is a great time to settle down, to slow down my schedule. I find that, health-wise, I think I'm doing much better. There are definitely some things I'm noticing there. I'm cooking more. I'm, doing things around my house. I know, and it turns out I'm pretty good.
I made some really good vegan chili. Nice that I made enough for an army. I was like, I can't even invite it.
So in other words, y'all will be eating that
chili for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 2 days.
You will be fine for some time. That's why I like chili. That's why I like chili.
It is really, really good. I found a very, very good recipe. So it's really good. Yeah. So just reconnecting. I made a cake last week. It was okay. It wasn't her best because she has done very good. But this cake was, I didn't really taste it because it wasn't a vegan cake. But I said, well, you taste it first. Let me see. And she was like,
oh, well, thank you. Like
it was fun. The process was fun.
Thank you for warning me.
She normally does really well with her cakes. This just wasn't her best one. So
so she's got time. She can work on it. So before we head out, I would like for you to tell everybody, where can they find you? And so can I say really quickly, Yvette, two things that she's really known for is her work with the American Black Film Festival as well as with the Miami Broward Carnival. And so if you love what now? Miami Carnival? Ooh, I'm sorry. My bad.
You should know that.
I know. I work with you on that. So look, the Miami Carnival. So if you love either of those events, she's the publicist guru behind it. So definitely you need to reach out to her because, as I mentioned, she's been a mentor and a friend, but is also one of the best in the industry here in Miami as far as I'm concerned. So tell us how we can reach out to you and work with you in the future.
So my website is harrispublicrelations.com. You can find me on Twitter. Yvette Harris PR, on Instagram, Harris Public Relations, and of course I'm on LinkedIn under my name, and Facebook. Quite a few of you are already Facebook friends, and we have a business one, Harris Public Relations, as well.
Okay, great.
And as soon as Starbucks opens, you can find me sitting right there having my tea.
Exactly. I owe you big time. We will be when we can get back together, hopefully. Really soon. Exactly. So thank you for joining us today.
And thank you to everyone that's listening. Stay safe, stay home, stay healthy.
If you have to go out, stay covered.
Yeah. If you have to go out, make sure you have your face mask, your gloves. Mm-hmm. And just stay positive during this time. We're going to get through this.
Yes, thank you so very much. And once again, thank you for being a super supportive friend for me as well. I actually, when I hopped on this, I called you.
So I appreciate it and love you also.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, have a good one.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Yvette. I think the information that you gave, not only in terms of small business, but how we as individuals should think through this time and really spend this time connecting and getting to know yourself and your family and your friends a little better. If in no other way but utilizing an online platform on which to do so. And this is a great opportunity for small businesses to reinvent themselves and pivot and maybe pursue some of those things that you had always been thinking of, but now have the opportunity to execute. We'll see you tomorrow. Again at 10 o'clock, I will be talking to another friend, Jennifer Behar, who is the guru breadstick guru, I call her. Great breadsticks, definitely. Jennifer's homemade breadsticks and flatbread, and she's been a friend and a neighbor, and also a mentor and advisor through this small business space. So we look forward to that. We'll send out an email with these interviews later in the week, or maybe even Monday. But also, thank you for chiming in, and we hope you'll join us again tomorrow. And thanks again, Yvette. Have a great day.